Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today we're going deep into the world of espionage. We're going to uncover the story of Virginia Hall, a woman who wasn't just a spy, but a legend. We're going to unpack her incredible journey using Sonia Purnell's book, A Woman of No Importance. And let me tell you, that title couldn't be further from the truth.
Really is a bit ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Virginia Hall operating in the shadows, orchestrating resistance networks, constantly outsmarting the Gestapo, all while battling societal expectations and physical limitations. It's a story that has it all. Courage, resilience, and a healthy dose of defying the odds.
So let's set the scene.
Okay.
It's the early 1900s, and we find young Virginia in Baltimore, already showing signs of her adventurous spirit. Apparently, she once wore live snakes as a bracelet to school. Can you imagine the reaction?
Talk about making an entrance. That little detail from Purnell's book really jumped out at me.
Really?
It speaks volumes about her personality. Fearless, unconventional, and always willing to push boundaries. It's almost like she was destined for a life less ordinary.
And that life took a dramatic turn in 1933. While working for the U.S. State Department in Turkey, a hunting accident left her with a prosthetic leg. You might think that would have been the end of her adventurous ambitions, but not for Virginia.
Absolutely not. This is where we see her incredible resilience shine through. She refused to be defined by her disability.
Wow.
Instead, she named her prosthetic leg Cuthbert, and even used it to her advantage in the field, smuggling documents and radio parts right under the noses of the Nazis.
Wait, she used her prosthetic lug as a secret compartment. That's both ingenious and incredibly daring.
Exactly. It highlights her resourcefulness and ability to think outside the box.
Yeah.
But it also underscores the constant danger she faced. Every step she took, every interaction could have been her last.
So with this unwavering spirit, she joins the British Special Operations Executive, the SOE, in 1940. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the SOE, they were essentially the forerunners to modern special forces, tasked with supporting resistance movements in Nazi-occupied Europe.
Right, and their mission was incredibly dangerous. They were sending agents into a hostile environment, relying on stealth, cunning, and the bravery of local resistance fighters.
Right.
And here comes Virginia, an American woman with a disability determined to be on the front lines.
I can only imagine the pushback she must have faced.
Oh, absolutely. There was prejudice against women in combat roles, and her prosthetic leg was seen as a liability.
Yeah.
But the situation in France was desperate. They needed skilled agents, and Virginia, despite the doubts, proved she had what it took.
And so, under the codename Marie, she's dropped into Lyon, posing as a journalist for the New York Post. What were her initial challenges in building a resistance network? I mean, occupied France was a pressure cooker of fear and suspicion.
You're absolutely right. Purnell paints a vivid picture of that time. Rationing, constant surveillance, the threat of betrayal lurking around every corner. Virginia had to be incredibly careful, building trust slowly, relying on intuition and her keen observation skills.
Her dispatches mention the scarcity of everyday items like chocolate and cigarettes. It's almost like those small details bring that era to life, reminding us of the harsh reality she faced.
Exactly. And amidst this oppressive atmosphere, she had to identify potential recruits, assess their loyalty, and find ways to communicate securely. It was a delicate and dangerous dance.
So how did she do it? How did she manage to build a successful network in such a hostile environment?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. She wasn't just recruiting hardened resistance fighters. She was looking for people from all walks of life, recognizing that everyone had something to contribute. One of her most valuable assets was Germaine, a brothel madam, who provided safe houses and vital intelligence on German troop movements.
Wait, a brothel madam. That's brilliant. Who would suspect that?
Precisely. And it speaks to Virginia's ability to see potential where others saw only the obvious. She understood that information could come from the most unexpected places. She also worked with a doctor, Jean Rousset, who ran a safe house disguised as a mental asylum, offering refuge to downed Allied airmen and escaped prisoners of war. It was truly remarkable how she was able to forge these alliances and inspire trust in such a high-stakes environment. But it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Right.
There were betrayals, close calls, and constant pressure from the Gestapo, who were hot on her trail.
Speaking of the Gestapo, Purnell mentions this fascinating character, Mathilde Carré, codenamed La Chatte, or the Cat.
Oh, yeah.
She was a double agent who infiltrated Virginia's network and played a key role in a devastating radio game orchestrated by the Germans.
Right, the radio game. This was a particularly insidious tactic used by the Germans to deceive the Allies. They'd capture a radio operator and force them to send false messages back to headquarters,
Oh, wow.
creating confusion and leading to disastrous missions.
Right.
Lechat's involvement in this deception led to the arrest and execution of many SOE agents, dealing a huge blow to Virginia's network.
It must have been heartbreaking for her to see her hard work unravel.
Yeah.
Her friends and comrades captured and killed because of this betrayal.
It was, and it highlights the emotional toll of this kind of work. Imagine the constant fear, the paranoia, the weight of knowing that one wrong move could have fatal consequences, not just for yourself, but for everyone you're working with.
Right.
It was a heavy burden to bear.
Purnell describes this incredible incident where Virginia narrowly escapes capture during a raid on a cafe. It sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She was meeting with a contact when the Gestapo suddenly stormed the place.
Oh, gosh.
She managed to slip out the back, blending in with the crowd, her heart pounding in her chest. But the net was closing in. Her network was compromised.
Right.
And the Gestapo had identified her as a key target, even giving her the nickname, the Limping Lady.
The Limping Lady. How chilling is that? It's a reminder that despite her efforts to blend in, she was always vulnerable, always at risk of being exposed.
Absolutely. And it's around this time that she's forced to make a daring escape over the Pyrenees Mountains in the dead of winter. With Cuthbert, no less.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feat of endurance and determination.
I can't even imagine attempting that with a prosthetic leg. The terrain, the cold, the constant fear of being caught, it must have been grueling.
It was. But she had this incredible willpower, this refusal to give up. She even sent a message back to London saying, "Cuthbert is being tiresome, but I can cope."
Wow.
Can you imagine the relief in London when they received that message?
It's both humorous and deeply moving.
Yeah.
She's facing incredible hardship, yet still managed to maintain her dry wit and her unwavering resolve.
Exactly.
That escape marked the end of her time with the SOE. She was eventually transferred to the American OSS, the precursor to the CIA. But she wasn't content with a desk job in Spain. By 1944, with D-Day approaching, she was back in France, this time with a new mission.
Exactly. The war had entered a new phase, and Virginia's role evolved from intelligence gathering to active resistance. She was parachuted back into France under the codename Diane and quickly established herself as a formidable leader, training guerrilla fighters, organizing parachute drops, and coordinating sabotage efforts to disrupt the German war machine.
It's amazing how she adapted to this new role, embracing the challenges and proving her effectiveness time and again. It's like she was born for this kind of work.
She really was a natural, and her reputation grew. She became known as the Madonna of the Mountains, leading a band of Maquis fighters in the Haute-Loire region.
Wow.
She was tough, resourceful, and always willing to put herself in harm's way.
The Madonna of the Mountains, what a powerful image. It speaks to the almost mythical status she attained among the resistance fighters.
It does, doesn't it? But it's important to remember that this was still a chaotic and dangerous time. The French resistance was a complex network of different factions, often with conflicting agendas and rivalries.
So she was dealing with not only the external threat of the Germans, but also internal tensions and power struggles within the resistance itself.
That's right. Purnell describes these challenges in detail, highlighting the delicate balancing act Virginia had to perform. She needed to maintain unity against the common enemy while also navigating these internal divisions and ensuring that her missions aligned with the overall Allied strategy.
There's this gripping scene where she confronts a French officer, Foncois, who's gone rogue and is planning a reckless attack that could jeopardize the entire operation.
Yes. Foncois was this charismatic but impulsive leader who was operating outside the chain of command.
Right.
Virginia recognized the danger his actions posed and decided to confront him directly,
Wow.
challenging his authority and demanding that he stand down.
Wow. Talk about courage. She was essentially putting her own life on the line to protect the mission and the lives of her men.
She was. And what's remarkable is that she succeeded. Her sheer force of will, combined with the respect she had earned from her own fighters, forced Foncois to back down. It's a testament to her leadership and her ability to inspire others, even in the most volatile situations.
So the war ends. France is liberated. You'd think that after all she'd accomplished, Virginia would finally receive the recognition she deserved.
Well, that's where things get a bit complicated. She received honors from both Britain and the United States, but much of her wartime service remained classified for decades. She joined the newly formed CIA, but her career there was marked by frustration. She faced the same kind of gender discrimination that had plagued her earlier years,
Right.
often finding herself relegated to desk jobs despite her extensive experience and proven capabilities.
It's almost unbelievable that someone with her track record would be sidelined like that. It's a reminder that even after risking her life for her country, she still had to battle against societal norms and prejudices.
It's a sad reality, isn't it? But despite these setbacks, she continued to serve her country, focusing on paramilitary operations, training stay-behind networks in Europe, and supporting resistance movements against communist regimes. She was, in a sense, still fighting the good fight, just on a different front.
It sounds like she never lost that fire, that passion for making a difference in the world.
She didn't, and her expertise was invaluable. The knowledge and skills she acquired during the war were highly sought after, even if her contributions were often downplayed or hidden from public view.
What about her personal life? Did she ever find happiness after the war?
She did. Purnell describes her relationship with Paul Guello, a fellow OSS officer. They eventually married and built a life together, finding solace in each other after years of danger and upheaval.
That's heartwarming to hear. After all she went through, she deserved to find peace and companionship. It's a testament to her strength and resilience that even after enduring so much hardship, she was still able to open her heart to love and create a fulfilling life for herself.
Absolutely, and it speaks to the complexity of her character.
Yeah.
She was this fearless warrior, a master of disguise and deception, yet also a woman who longed for a normal life, for love and connection.
It's a reminder that even the most extraordinary individuals have basic human needs and desires. And it makes her story all the more relatable and inspiring.
It does, doesn't it? It reminds us that behind the legend, behind the code name and the wartime exploits, there was a real person with hopes, dreams, and vulnerabilities.
So what happens to Virginia in her later years? Does she finally get the recognition she deserves?
Sadly, it wasn't until after her death in 1982 that her full contributions were declassified and she received the public recognition she so richly deserved.
That's both tragic and infuriating. It's a shame that she wasn't able to witness the outpouring of admiration and gratitude for her service.
It is a shame, but her legacy lives on. She was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the Croix de Guerre, and there's even an exhibit dedicated to her at the CIA Museum.
It's amazing to think that someone who was considered a woman of no importance for so long would eventually become a symbol of courage and resilience.
It really is. Her story reminds us that history is made not just by generals and politicians, but by individuals who choose to act, to make a difference in the face of adversity. And it challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about who can be a hero. Virginia Hall defied gender norms, overcame physical limitations, and became one of the most effective spies of World War II.
Makes you wonder how many other unsung heroes are out there, their stories still hidden in classified files.
That's a thought-provoking question, isn't it? It speaks to the nature of espionage itself, a world of secrecy and hidden agendas. But in Virginia's case, the truth eventually came to light, and it's a story that deserves to be told and retold.
So what can we learn from Virginia Hall's extraordinary journey? Why should her story matter to us today?
I think there are several key takeaways. First, it's a reminder that courage and determination can come from the most unexpected places. Virginia faced incredible obstacles, yet she never gave up. She used her wit, her skills, and even her disability to her advantage, proving that limitations can be overcome with the right mindset.
It's also a powerful testament to the importance of perseverance. She faced setbacks and betrayals, yet she never lost sight of her mission.
Yeah.
She kept pushing forward, adapting to changing circumstances, and ultimately making a significant impact on the course of the war.
Exactly, and I think it also speaks to the power of human connection. Virginia built trust with people from all walks of life. Resistance fighters, brothel madams, doctors, everyday citizens who risked their lives to help her. It highlights the importance of collaboration and the strength that can be found in unity, even in the darkest of times.
Her story is a reminder that we can achieve extraordinary things when we work together, when we support each other, and when we refuse to give up on what we believe in.
Absolutely. And for those who want to delve deeper into this remarkable woman's life, I highly recommend checking out A Woman of No Importance by Sonia Purnell. You'll find a link to the book in our show notes. We encourage you to use our affiliate link. Every purchase helps support the show.
And here's a final thought for you to ponder. Despite her incredible contributions, Virginia Hall remains relatively unknown outside of intelligence circles.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say about our society that such a remarkable figure could fade into obscurity?
That's an excellent question to leave our listeners with. It speaks to the complexities of history, the way certain stories are amplified while others are silenced, and it challenges us to seek out those untold stories, to uncover the hidden figures who have shaped our world. Until next time, keep diving deep.